Hello everyone, this is PHTV4. I'm Sue Jankowski, and we are back with the travel show. We had a tiny bit of a hiatus, but we are back giving you fantastic ideas of where to go and how to have fun and plan ahead a little bit. And we have Kathy Janes with us, as we always do. Kathy, thanks for coming in again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. She is from Class Act Travel, which we'll talk more about later. And the guest we have today is Tom VanDorn. Thanks for coming in, Tom.
My pleasure. Appreciate the opportunity.
Good. Tom is the Director of Sales for Raro, and we're going to find out a little bit what Raro is, because I think it's a little unfamiliar to me. Maybe it's a little unfamiliar to you, too, so now you're going to learn all about it. Tom, I guess we need to know a little bit about the company for people who maybe haven't traveled with Raro before.
Sure. Well, Raro is a tour operator. We specialize in only 4 destinations: Umbria, Sardinia, both in Italy, of course, Greece, and the Philippines. Should I tell you a little about what these tours offer?
Yes.
Well, we have 7 and 10-night trips and a 12-night trip to the Philippines. And what we offer is 100% all-inclusive trips. We don't do the international air. Kathy would do that, or client would do it on their own. But once you arrive in the destination, everything is included. All meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all sightseeing activities, tipping, you name it, it's included.
That's very rare.
It is rare. And
It
a lot
is
of people
very
tell me
rare.
that, you've got a free day. How do you do a lunch on a free day? Well, we basically let everybody know that we're going to have lunch at a certain time, so come back here at that time. If you want to do it, you don't have to do
You
it.
can do it on your own if you want to.
Exactly. But other than that, everything is included. They're guaranteed departures. We have set departures. So if you look at our website, the trips will leave on certain days and for those destinations throughout the year. So we don't do individual customized trips in that regard. So you have to go when we go. But I can honestly tell you, every travel advisor, and by the way, my job is calling primarily on the Kathys of the world, travel advisors. And I should mention, too, and this is a true statement, I've been doing this a long time, not every travel advisor is the same. And I've known Kathy a while, and you're dealing with the best when you're dealing with Class Act travel. I just want to put that out there because it's true.
Thank you.
And not to say there aren't other good ones out there, but just to make that clear, too.
That's very nice.
But again, with our company, and we are relatively new to the travel agency trade, and even consumers. We're not new. We've been around for about 8 years now. But we don't do print advertising. We're on social media, so people know us from that. And of course, my job is, I've been here a little over a year, to introduce the company to the Kathys of the world, the trade. And I can honestly tell you that every travel advisor who has traveled with us and experienced the product personally, or had clients booked with us, they all come back saying exactly the same thing. And I'm not making this up. They rave about it. And they all say that you're different than anybody else out there. And I can tell you why, and very shortly. It's basically because we are the model of the company. We don't use what a lot of people refer to as a DMC, a destination management company.
Okay.
And what those are, they're located all over the world. Every destination has those. And most tour operators employ them to do their tours and do the local transportation and sightseeing activity, et cetera. We don't do that. The people with Raro, they're our employees on the ground in these destinations. And people have asked me, why do you only have 4 destinations? And it's really because of that. You cannot have those kinds of relationships all over the world and do the same kind of a product like that. So it's not so much who you know, it's who knows you. So when our Raro people are taking our guests to a different place, it could be a mom and pop restaurant, it could be a sightseeing activity, and whatever it is, those places know us too. And so and oftentimes they're eating with us, they're cooking for us, and so the trips are really so immersive and authentic. Almost all meals are ordered off the menu. And so one important thing I think for your viewers to know that's different about us is that they're not groups per se. They're individuals. It could be one person or a couple. We never have more than 20 guests per trip. And that's a big deal.
That is a very big
Because
deal.
a lot of guests, people don't want a 40-seat coach. They don't want a long line. They don't want name badges. They don't want lanyards. They don't want any of that stuff that has to do with a group travel.
Right.
We're the opposite of that. We are very much, and this is a true statement, very much like visiting family. And this is by design. So in other words, if you had invited guests from maybe 12 people from all over the world, family members, into your hometown, well, you would obviously take them to places that you know and love.
Yes.
And typically those places would know and love you too, because you frequent them all the time. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking people to restaurants. Like I said, it could be a mom and pop restaurant, but we've got our own guides, and they're phenomenal. So it's kind of like this. If you were in a location, you'd look over, say you're in Greece or wherever, you'd look over and you'd see the big coaches, and you'd see all the people listening with their earbuds to their speaker. We don't do that. We're just walking along our merry way with our own guides. And by the way, this is a very important thing to mention too, that with every one of our trips, we have 2 Raro employees, the host and the coordinator. They're both very involved in putting together the trip. So they are with the party the entire time. So there's really never an opportunity for a guest to have an issue with something or want to do something, because you would just tell us. We're right there with you the entire time. We communicate by WhatsApp, so in the evening we'll send maybe some information about the next day, what to plan on, what to maybe bring with you, etc. But that's what really makes these special. So when you're dining, whether it's lunch, breakfast, or whatever, one of the 2, if not both, of our employees are with them. So in many cases, they'll help translate the menu, because almost all meals are ordered off the menu, and people love that.
Yeah.
And these trips, they're structured, but I would put it minimally so, such that if a guest doesn't say, for example, you don't want to go to dinner one night, you just want a day off or whatever, well, just let us know. Again, it's just like visiting family. We want you to do things the way you want to do them, as long as you're not missing the next destination. So that's really who we are in a nutshell, and they're very, like I said, very, very immersive and as authentic as you can get, and loosely structured so that people don't feel, at the end of it, the thing they hate most is leaving, because you get so close. As you can imagine, with a trip that's never more than 20 people, often it's 12 to 14, 16, you bond with these people because you're just together with the host, and people love the host and they love the coordinator. So it's leaving that is really the most difficult part, because you become so. We take people to places that only locals know about in many cases. So you can't get more local than that. We go to places that are not touristy for the most part, not relatively speaking compared to other destinations, and that's again why we only have these destinations. And that's kind of in a nutshell who we are.
I think you made so many really important things.
I agree.
I mean, first of all, you have a small group, and you get to know each other. And more importantly, your tour operators, the people with you, get to know you. So
Absolutely.
If you have a change of heart where you want to, maybe you want to go have your lunch alone or whatever, or you have a problem. I think a lot of people think, at least I do, if I'm in a country where I don't speak the language and I have a problem, what do I do about it? So it's nice to have someone there who can help you with that.
I agree. And just quickly to add to that, before I forget my thought too, prior to each trip departing, the host, the coordinator, and probably the owner of the company, they'll have a powwow. They do this every time, and they'll look at what comprises the trip, what the age bracket is. And by the way, very quickly on the ages, we don't take children just because of the nature of the trips. But so the youngest would be maybe an older teenager, 18 or 19. Then they go up into the 80s. Probably 50, 55 would be the average. But we'll do this powwow, and we'll see who's going to be on this trip. And we'll look at whatever we can glean from that, from any information, and then we'll kind of see, should we change this hotel or this restaurant based on that? And that's a great thing. And even during the trips, I've heard we do this too. The host will say to the party something, you really liked this restaurant that we did, or you really liked this, whatever we did. So we're thinking, what if we swap this restaurant tonight instead of what we were planning because of this? What do you think? And typically the guests will, we loved it all so far, whatever you think.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
So that's what they'll do. They'll swap it out. It's that kind of fluid, so to speak.
I really like that, because so many times, and also going kind of off the beaten track, especially people who have seen all the major, iconic places in that country. I've, seen that. You don't need to necessarily see it again unless you want to. But you really want to get involved in the people, the food, just the ambiance of the country. And it sounds like that's what you're looking for, providing.
It exactly is. And honestly, when it comes to off the beaten path too, just as an example, some of our trips, like to Umbria and Sardinia, they have a 7 or 10 night. If it's a 10 night, it's because they start in Rome. But we don't do an in-depth Rome and in-depth Vatican thing. You know, we'll go by it and see it, and you know, but it's because other companies do that. So what we're doing is going to places, like you said, that are totally off the beaten path, that people, it's like I said, it's where the locals want to go, and where because they know about them, and they know they're not going to be bombarded with tourists and that kind of thing. So they're a lot of, let me put it this way, a lot of work has gone into, and again, 8 years. We've been going into our 8th year. So this model has really been perfected over a long period of time. And very quickly, just to tell you about who we are as a company, who owns this. The founder of the company, Andrew Combs, he's the one who hired me. And he made his success basically in marketing and advertising in the sports and entertainment world. And through his connections, he met a gentleman, Stefano. He's from Milan. He spends half the year there, half here. And he happens to be the CEO of a company called Dallara, which manufactures all the Indy 500 cars.
Oh,
So
my
it's-
gracious.
Right,
Yeah.
and then the third gentleman is a well-off attorney. And but the three of them, they put this together. This is not in any stretch of the imagination a hobby. This is what they focus on. This is what their main thing is. And so they're very well traveled. They've been to over, I think, 75 countries around the world. So obviously you can tell they know what business is like. They know what doing things the right way is, businesses. And so that's how this is done. And when these advisors, I would imagine, Kathy, when you go on us, and you'll come back and probably say the same thing, that it's not, they love the trip, but it's just the way we do things and the attention to detail, the way we're looking after everybody on this trip as if they're family, and doing whatever we can do to make sure that they're looked after in the most appropriate way, so they're having fun and enjoying themselves. And it's basically
That's
how it
important.
works.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what you want. You
Yes.
want to have fun and enjoy yourself while, you know,
And
doing
learning
what
things
you
and
want to
learning
do.
and finding out about the people of the country.
Right.
Just one question: how do you guys travel with the group?
Yeah, I wanted to know that too.
We do. Once they arrive, this is the only time you'll probably see a sign, because we don't have any held-up signs and
Well, yeah.
other than to pick up the first party, the party on arrival. They're private transfers, and the vehicles we use are Mercedes vehicles. They're leather interior,
Like cars? Like regular cars?
a minivan.
Minivan,
Because
okay.
they only go up to 16, 20 people at the max. So
That's perfect, yeah.
So we gear it toward the number of people that are on that trip, and that's how we do it. On a trip like the Philippines, of course, there's inter-island flights involved, and that is the only place, the only destination where we do use a DMC, because as a tour company, which we are, we're not allowed to hold flight space like a tour operator, like a destination management company can. So we have to rely on them for that. But when it comes to the relationships, and this is what it's all about, that's why we have only those 4 destinations. I should point out, though, next year, I believe it's next year, we're adding New Zealand,
Wow.
France, and Turkey.
Oh,
Wow.
expanding a little bit.
Oh, exactly. And we do it, where we've seen how a lot of other companies do things, and you have to do that right. And with us, it's all about 100%, it's about the relationships, making sure that the people who we bring on board know what our standards are. But not only that, but they have that kind of relationship that can provide a family type thing. So the places know them, they know us. And I don't want to overplay this and make it sound like we have incredible access to things, but I can tell you that because of the nature of the gentleman running this thing and our connections locally, et cetera, we do have access frequently to places and things that might not be open yet, or that just because of our relationships, they'll let us in, to give us a sneak preview of this kind of thing. So it's just something that goes into it really is a special product. Let me put it. And so when people come back and say, "I never have been on a trip like this," it really is true. And my job, as you can imagine, with us not advertising to the trade, we're on social media, but even to the travel advisors, we're not in publications for that. It's me,
Yeah.
and I've got the entire country. So it's getting the word out, and and everybody's got to do their due diligence. I've been doing it a long time, and I've known Kathy a long time, but I don't expect that Kathy would just go ahead and book us just because she knows the rep. It doesn't work that way. She's got to do her due diligence and look into it. But again, I can honestly tell you that when people do, and they have clients, or some have told me too, as a travel advisor, I won't sell anything that I haven't experienced myself. And so I just had a couple, they've been doing it 30 years, they booked a trip for themselves to Umbria. They came back, and honestly, they said, we are 100% converts. I've never been on anything like this before.
Oh, okay.
And so if I can be a reference to any other travel agent you're talking to,
They
please
would
have them
really
call
do
me. And so, that's little by little, that's how it's working.
Okay.
And it's
And
spinning
you're
on.
getting
Now-
your story out.
Getting the story out is the name of the game.
You're
Exactly.
talking about it being really all-inclusive. Would you consider this like a luxury brand kind of thing?
That's a good question. We're very careful to not use the word luxury, or at least overuse it, because it's subjective, of course. It means a lot of things to different people. And we don't want to scare people off, having them thinking that we're only St. Regis hotels or Four Seasons hotels. We do use five-star properties where there are some, but in some cases, like in Agriturismo in Sardinia, which is like a farm stay, which are incredible. People love those. We never go below a 4. Typically, they're 5 and 4.5, but we don't use that word only because we don't want to mislead anybody. We don't want to scare them off price-wise or anything like that, because we're not in the luxury price range. Having said all this, though, I would put the quality of the product, the experience, that to me is definitely 5-star. That
Yeah.
I would put up against anybody's product out there. I don't care who they are, because when it comes down to even somebody, the most sophisticated person that only stays in Four Seasons and all that kind of thing, even that, because of the immersive nature of this, they might have done their other trips in the past to like a first-timer and done the Vatican and all that kind of thing. But when they want to go back, this is when a lot of companies and travel advisors are recommending us for somebody who wants new experiences other than, like you were mentioning. And so we're ideal for people who've been to these destinations. Say you've been to Italy and everybody loves Italy, but you've never been to Umbria or Sardinia.
Right.
This is where we come in.
Yeah.
Or if you haven't been and you want to have the bragging rights because you know none of your friends have done those either, well then you go there first. And no, you haven't been. That's kind of the way it works too.
Rome is so last year.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Exactly.
Okay, well that is really great. I'm glad they're adding some new destinations. So when you're traveling, you're gathering people, and you have a great vehicle to do that. How are you using these same vehicles to transport people from place to place, or? I mean, because you're kind of in I don't know the geography there.
Yeah.
So is it kind of a smaller area? So you're really like getting into that, the
No, we
nuts
spread out.
and-
No, I understand your question. It's a
Yeah.
good question. So I'll give you a quick example. Say Umbria, and you can fly into Rome from here, or wherever you're coming from. You fly into Rome, and then we'll drive from there we'll make another stop in Civita di Bagnoregio. It's not actually in Umbria, but it's on the way to Umbria. It's an incredible place, by the way. Everybody absolutely loves it. It's a little village that you can only get to by a pedestrian bridge. I mean, it's
How cool.
you should.
It's got to be really cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's incredible, and the views from that, and just the little cobblestone streets and the little cafes and all that. People just love it, and so that's a stop. But then they'll get to Spello, another village there. And honestly, all the travel advisors I've talked to about this, who've been to Spello, tell me that is one of their favorite villages, cities in all the world, just because it's so beautiful. But from Spello, to answer your question, that's kind of like the base for the trip in Umbria. And they'll spend 3 or 4 nights there, and then do day trips each day to another village, could be an hour or a little more away, and where they'll have lunch and just, again, taking in incredible places that each has their own unique charm. But again, just as an example, Visiglia, it's got the little Venice of Umbria with it's like a fairy tale. You feel like you're living in a fairy tale with the little wooden bridges over the streams, and it's the way it's nestled into the side of a mountain. And people just love this. And of course, the flower-filled villages, and some have their own little, between May and August, they'll have their own contest to see who has the most beautiful decorations of flowery decorations in their alleys. I mean, it's an incredible place. And keep in mind, I don't want to forget to mention this too. I wish I had a penny for every time I've heard this. And it's a positive thing. When advisors are telling me about their trips, or their clients are reporting back on it, or we read the comments from the trips, that they gain so much weight on their trips. It's because the food is it's plentiful and it's fantastic. People just love it. And by the way, we do typically in Italy, usually two incredible wine tastings, and go to wineries and wine tastings. And again, as with everything with Raro, nothing is second rate. So these are they'll have some of the most primo wines, some of the most gorgeous wineries they'll be visiting, etc. So between the wines and the meals, and and again, wine and beer are included as well. So it's people are just indulging and having a wonderful time, and again, all local. So and a very small, close-in group of people that they're with.
So you're staying in the same place for 3 or 4 days. I'm just wondering.
Not always, but on that trip.
But on that trip, okay. Because are you packing? Are you putting your suitcase in a room and packing up the next day and moving to the next spot?
Usually 3 properties a trip, at most.
Okay.
So you'll be in the same place at least 2 nights, sometimes 3 or 4, and then you'll move. But rarely would you be in a place 1 night, except coming in and going out, like the last night in Rome when you're departing. We'll stay right near the airport for that one.
Okay.
But other than that, no, you're and again, to help answer that question too. And again, I take the feedback that I get from everybody who's been honest in the comments, and I don't get any, and I know this sounds kind of goofy, but I don't receive any pushback on any part of it at all, other than having to leave. And I'm serious, because they love the properties, these boutique-ish type properties.
Yes.
And again, we have a relationship with them, so they know us too. The same with where we're eating and everything else we're doing. So it's just that kind of close-in thing. So I don't get any pushback about we're moving, we're packing and moving. And by the way, we don't start the days before 9 a.m. People love that.
You don't have to get up.
No, you have your bags out at 6 in the morning, and none of that stuff. Again, it's very much like visiting family. It's structured, so I don't want to make it sound like just willy-nilly. There's a lot of thought and a lot of planning that goes into these. And by the way, these people on the ground, the host and coordinator, they're not working for other tour operators. They're not, just moonlighting and doing back and forth. They are our employees. And think about that for a minute, that if you've got guests, if you're a guest traveling with us, don't you think it would be a little different when you're being shown around and hosted and spending all this time with somebody who actually works for the company, not somebody who we hired out they're going from this company to that company to that company. It's a big difference.
Because they care for your company.
Yeah.
That's where their money is coming from.
Exactly.
So they're going to treat that a little bit different.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And people see it. I can honestly tell you, people, they love,
Sure.
like Pino's one of our hosts, and he's been around for a while, and he speaks rough English.
Well, enough that you understand.
Oh, you can easily understand him. But I mean, he's very local, and so that's what they just feel like they're visiting local family and visiting local places, and that have very few tours. Like if you're in Umbria and you're going to Gubbio, it's known for, it's got a history of a ceramic tradition that is really, really cool, and you can all these little shops and artisan, goods and all this stuff. But you don't see many tourists at all because they don't know of these places.
Yeah.
So just by design, you feel like, holy cow, this is really. You don't feel like you're on a touristy trip.
Right.
You feel like you're just travelers.
Right,
And it's
right. And big groups can get a little overwhelming too. You're all this, huge group, always trying to, being just ushered into a area to have dinner or lunch or whatever. You've got a smaller group. I mean, gosh, a lot of families are 16 people, when they go into a restaurant. So that's
Exactly.
a lot more user-friendly. And I think what's really important here is the personal experience that you would have, and it would be more, maybe a little bit more meaningful to people, especially to be in those places that go unseen but are delightful and beautiful, like you're expressing.
Yeah.
That makes it really a special trip.
I couldn't agree more. And when you add to that the people on the ground are sharing the entire time because they are local and they're with you. They're not trying to get home. So they're sharing. They might be, oh, you see over there, I grew up over there. That's where I went to school. Or my aunt. This
That
kind
is
of
so
stuff.
cool.
That is,
Yeah.
Or you'll see the 40-seat coaches over. You'll see the people, but we're talking. And if there's any reason somebody is moving a little slower, well, we just move a little slower. But the narration that's going on the whole time, you don't even notice that. And so it's just built into the nature of the trip, and there's plenty of free times. Like I said, we know that people like to do their own things, particularly in these destinations, because there's all these shops and everything. So it's a lot of careful attention to detail.
Yeah. Well, it sounds just wonderful. Would you, again, repeat the places that you're going right now?
Sure. Umbria, which, by the way, is just about right smack dab in the middle of Italy.
Okay.
It's just to the east of Tuscany. It looks very similar to Tuscany, by the way. The rolling hills, lush green, all the beauty that people think. Except the difference is that it's got the same kind of really incredible ancient villages and all that stuff, but not nearly the tourists. And then you go in, you're further into there. You go to some of these villages I mentioned. It's like you feel like you're even more in the heart of Italy than you would have otherwise. So Umbria, Sardinia, which is the second largest island in the Mediterranean after Sicily, another incredible destination. And again, everybody who goes to these, they're just blown away by the culture, the archaeological sites, and just whatever it might be. And of course, the cuisine, the wines, world class to the nth degree, world class stuff.
Well, as you're talking about the food and wine, I'm thinking, who doesn't like Italian food? Everyone loves Italian food.
I love Italian
it's
food.
Great.
Yes,
you can't not like it. I mean, it's just wonderful. So knowing that it's like home cooked, basically
Even better
these
yet. Yeah.
restaurants that are cozy and in these towns, it sounds wonderful.
Anona made it for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And many, of course, other companies, and I'm not knocking, there are a lot of very good companies out there, but, typically the meals would be a buffet. And, that's just not anything like we offer. And even these farm stays that I mentioned in Sardinia, I mean, we use a few of them, but they're in gorgeous settings, like Cedrino Lake in one of them, Eco Park, just beautiful settings with animals running around, and we're with them. The people, it's a family-owned place, so the wine, they do their own wine. They've got their own winery. They're just incredible. So even breakfast, though, breakfast is its own feast, and they're cooking that for us. They're eating with. So it's not just the typical pasta type meal that most people think when they think of Italy. It's other things that go into it as well, and plus the local stuff on the street that we're introducing people to that might be something that they'd like to snack on, or a cafe. And on a free day, a lot of times we'll make recommendations to guests you might want to check this place out or that place out. And just because of the natures of these trips, many say, why don't you come with us? Come with us. So, our people will stay with them and just do that kind of thing. Just as an example, on arrival, and this doesn't happen all the time, but we take a look at the arrival times that people are coming in, say they're coming into Rome, and there's nothing going on the first day except the dinner that night. Well, if we notice that everybody's coming in around noon or late, 11 o'clock in the morning or something we'll just, when they're all together, tell, hey, looks like there's 6 or 8 or 10 of us here. You guys want to go do something? Let's just go. And,
you're there.
And so they do.
Yeah.
And so
That's
it's
nice.
it's a neat thing. So.
Well, it just sounds like you're going to want to plan a trip with Raro, and yes.
I had a client that contacted us that she wanted to go to Sardinia, and I'm going to be real honest about this. I'm going, now what do I do? Because I had no
experience there.
No experience with Sardinia. It's right there, but it's not a tourist destination as such.
Exactly.
Then I found out so many interesting things about it. With the beaches are supposed to be magnificent there.
Incredible. Some of the best in the world.
That's what I have heard. And then along comes Tom with his little, well, I'll be darned. There is somebody that goes there. I can do this.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
You should have
was
seen
amazing.
her face when I mentioned Sardinia is what we offer.
Whoa!
That's what she did. That's exactly what she did. And it is. We'll do just by the way, in Sardinia, we'll do a Zodiac, kind of a beach hopping. And again, it's some of the most pristine, gorgeous beaches in the world. And we'll just kind of take our Zodiac with beer and wine in it, and we'll stop. We'll have lunch here and there, and just spend some time on the beaches, and just again,
party.
Party.
See, I like that idea, that beer and wine
Yeah,
in a boat
yeah,
with
with the boat.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom, before we wrap it up here, is there anything else? I mean, you've given us a wonderful view of the company and where we can go and how this is different than other places. Is there anything else you'd like to mention?
I think just one thing I mentioned, because of the nature of my job, calling on travel advisors for the most part, knowing that they're selling the world and all that, and that, as Kathy was alluding to, Sardinia and even Umbria are not at the top of people's list when they're thinking of going to Italy. So that makes my job a little more difficult. But on the other hand, that's the challenge. That's the fun part about it. That we're selling neat things. Philippines too. You know, it's an incredible destination, but a lot of people don't even think.
No.
And there aren't many companies, tour companies, doing any of these destinations.
There are none that does Sardinia. I can tell you that now because I looked.
Yeah.
I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it.
I looked hard.
Yeah.
So I guess the main thing I'd like to leave with your viewers and everybody else too is that, and again, I've been doing it a long time. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from the Chicago area. I'm a straight shooter. I call it like it is. And I vetted the company when they were vetting me, having been in this a long time, and I haven't seen anything that we are the real deal. Let me put it that way. That, like I said, I would welcome any travel advisor. I don't care who you're selling, what you've sold, to experience our product, because all I ever hear from is that, wow, this is
really great.
you're hitting the nail on the head with small escorted travel.
Beautiful.
So
Cool.
I can't thank you both enough. I
Yeah,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
That
And this
was
is,
great.
This is
Yeah.
very eye-opening that there's other choices
Yes.
for people. So if you do want to know more about this, you know, Kathy is right in the local vicinity. Kathy, tell us where you are again.
Yes, we're in Worth, Illinois. The address is 6946 West 111th Street, the corner of 111th and Worth Avenue. We are open Monday through Fridays, 9 to 5. If you need something later, just give us a holler. If you need Saturdays, again, just give us a holler and we'll set it up for a later or a Saturday. We would love to hear about your trip with Tom to Sardinia, guys. You know, it sounds cool to me.
Yeah, sounds great. And also the Umbria, I like the idea that, you know, a lot of people want to go to that Tuscan area, and this is like that, but not that. You know,
Crowded.
it doesn't have
Not that crowd.
the crowds and the, you
That's
know,
a
the
good way to put
popularity.
it.
Yeah.
It's like that, but not.
Yeah,
But-
you know, because you have to deal with a lot of people, and you're hearing so much about how, you know, there's a big glut of tourists right now.
Absolutely.
So you kind of want to go the
Yeah.
you know,
Non-touristy things.
yes,
Yeah.
you know, especially if you've been around doing tours and you've seen a lot of things, this would be different. Thank you again, Tom.
My pleasure. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, Kathy. We'll
You're
see
very
you,
welcome. Thank you.
We'll see you next month when we bring you another interesting place to go. If you need more information about this or anything else, give Kathy a call. She'll help you. Okay, thanks for watching us. See you next time. Bye-bye.